So I'm backstage in Las Vegas, where I will be speaking on that stage in a few minutes. And truth be told, I'm a little bit nervous. I know what I'm going to say. I have practiced it quite a bit, but I am still... It's a very big theater. There's a lot of people in there, and I'm a little nervous. And I'm sick.
We have an excellent segue. We've got a champion and a fighter. Coming up next, we have a whole different type of champion and fighter. Here to prove to you that nothing is impossible, please welcome Silva Harapetian.
When I was 9, my mother decided to take me shoe shopping in the bazaar in Iran. The anticipation had been building for a while. She'd been researching, that's my mother, that's me, and that's my middle sister, Arsine. She'd been researching these shoes. She'd been saving for them. She was prepared. And the thing is, there was nothing special about these pair of shoes that she wanted to buy. They were just a simple pair of black leather pumps. But this was at a time, just a few years after the Iranian Revolution and into the Iran-Iraq War, where people were more concerned about the missiles landing on top of their houses than they were about what type of shoes they wore. So having a pair of leather shoes or buying a pair of new leather shoes was really a luxury. As Christian Armenians in Iran, things were pretty tense for us. And it was really difficult for a lot of people. This was at a time when people stood in line for hours for just a loaf of fresh bread, and meat was rationed to 2 pounds per family of 4. So you can imagine buying a pair of shoes was a little bit odd. I didn't know this at the time, but my mother was secretly preparing for our escape from Iran. The day had come to go buy these shoes. So we went to the bazaar. If you've ever been anywhere in the Middle East, you know what that feels like and looks like and smells like. It is loud. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of negotiating going on. We walked into this store, didn't go to any other store, walked into this very specific one, because remember, she'd done her research. She knew exactly what she wanted. We walked in. She asked to see the pair of shoes. She put them on. She walked around this tiny little store, up and down this little walkway with 2 chair benches on each side. She didn't really look excited, so I was a little bit confused because she'd been talking about these shoes and preparing to buy them for so long, but she just kind of walked up and down. She's like, they're okay. And then she took the shoes off and she handed it to the guy. She said, how much? And the guy, I don't remember, gave her a number. And she was like, yeah, no, that's not gonna work for me. And the guy was like, well, this is what I'm selling them for. And she said, I'm gonna give you this much for them. And it was some ridiculous price. It was significantly lower than what the guy was asking for. And the guy got really upset. So before you know it, there is this argument, or what looks like an argument, happening between my mother and this guy. And they're going back and forth. There's arms flying everywhere. There's body language happening. And this is sort of the negotiation process to buy these pair of shoes. And my mother's like, they're not worth that much. And the guy is like, but they are. And these are the only pair. And then he's trying to convince her that they're quality shoes and they're a pair of leather. And this is the only place you can find it. And my mother's like, yeah, well, I don't think they're worth that much. And I'm not willing to pay that much. And the guy was like, and this argument, this negotiation process escalated, and it got more intense, and the more intense it got, the more I got this pit in my stomach, and got this fear for my mother that she wouldn't get what she was looking for, and the thing that she'd been saving for and researching and really wanted, that she wouldn't have it. But she went at it like, no, I'm not gonna pay you that much for those pair of shoes. And the guy was like, well, then you can't have them. Grabbed them from her hand, and she said, fine, I've got money to spend, I'll go down the street. She scooped me by the arm and pulled me down the street, and we're walking, and I'm like, Mom, and I'm trying to distract her, Mom, I don't understand what's happening. You just left the pair of shoes you wanted and have been looking to buy for the past several months. What are you doing, Mom? She kept going, come on, let's go, come on, keep going. And I'm like, Mom, she's like, stop talking, keep walking, he's gonna come after us. And we kept walking, and wouldn't you know it, the guy chased us halfway down the street. Khanum, 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 bia, bia, midam, midam, midam. My mother had gotten the shoes, and she'd named a price for it. And wouldn't you know that my mother wore those shoes as we secretly left Iran. It was her practical investment, for she didn't know when she would have an opportunity to have quality pair of shoes again. Fast forward a few years, we were in Los Angeles. I was 16. I think we'd been in the country for about 2 years. I spoke a little bit of English. I'm the oldest, so I'm the only one who spoke English. I was on the planning committee for this nonprofit organization, and we were putting on a black tie event, and I needed a dress. And my mother said, we're gonna go to the mall, to the Glendale Galleria in Los Angeles. We walked into Ann Taylor. We looked through the racks. In the sell section, we found a dress that fit. It fit all of my mother's requirements. The fabric was good, the quality was good. I would be able to wear it more than once. It was all about the practical investment that she was all about. There was a problem. The price tag was too high. It was like $250. Even though it was on the sale rack, 25% off, that still made it something like $187. It's more than what we would spend for groceries. I mean, we had just gotten to this country, and my dad was working at a gas station, and my mom barely spoke any English. And so I said, Mom, we can't buy this dress. And she said, do you like it? I said, yes. She goes, I think the bottom needs to be hemmed, but I think you could get a lot of use for this. I said, okay. She goes, okay, take it off. I took off the dress. She took the dress and went to the counter. Do you see where this is going? Remember, I'm 16 years old. She doesn't speak any English. She gets to the counter, and the sales attendant is like, can I help you? And she says, sale. The sales associate is like, yes, it's 25% off. She says, more. And she goes, no. And my mom said, Իրան ասա, անցած տարվա շորնա, ով եմ ինչքան ժամանակ կախածատ է, չենք առնելու եթե ավելի շատ դիսկաունտ չտան. I'm standing there looking at her. She goes, Asa, as in translate. And I'm like, no. And I was like, she's asking for a deeper discount. And the lady was like, I'm sorry, I can only give you another 10%, but that would be a final sale. And she said, she said that only, dostokos, whatever. So she goes, no. And she continued in Armenian. She threw in a little bit of Farsi. And you know how people don't speak English and they use their body language and arm gestures and trying to make this woman understand that she wants a deeper discount. And I am mortified. I'm 16 years old. I'm standing right by her side. I just want the ground to freaking split open and for me to disappear because it is the most embarrassing thing I've ever experienced. My mother is negotiating in Ann Taylor. What? This isn't the bazaar. The sales associate got frustrated. She went and got our manager. Behind the counter, manager comes out, and she goes, what can I do for you? And my mother now has changed her tactic. Now she's going for sympathy. She's like, tell her that I really want you to have this dress, and it's important that you look good, and I can't really afford this much for this dress, and I'm trying to translate, but I cannot look this woman in the eye. I'm so embarrassed. I'm just like staring on the ground and trying not to make any eye contact. And the woman is like, I'm sorry, I don't know what you want me to do at this point. I've already said I can give you another 25%, but I don't know what else you want me to do. My mother pulled out her wallet. She pulled out some money, and she put it on the table, and she said, Asairan, doesn't translate everything I'm telling you. This is all I have with me, and this is what I can pay for this dress. The woman, I could tell, was confused. She was probably a little amused. She looked at me, she looked at my mom, and she looked at the money, and she looked at me again, and she said, do you really like this dress? I said, yes. She looked at it, she goes, it is from last season. It's been on the rack for a while. She goes, okay, I hope you get good use out of it. She took the money, rung up the dress, and we walked out with my dress. My mother paid $75 for that dress. I didn't know at the time the connection between the experience I had shopping with my mom when I was 9 in Iran and the experience I had shopping with my mom and Aunt Taylor when I was 16. I didn't really make the connection until much later in life when I was in my 30s and I was going through a very difficult time in life. I had just been laid off from my dream job. And I was able to identify where my strength comes from. My mother, through example, living the way she did, really taught me the meaning of how not to take no for an answer. There are a couple of things from this experience and my whole life that I really want to share with you. One of them is, don't ever negotiate with my mother. You will lose. I've tried. I lose every time. No, but on a serious note, 3 things. Perception is everything, right? Perception and how you see the circumstances in the situation, it determines really how you act and what you do in the process. If you go into every situation, and I think my mother, just by sheer necessity, went into every situation not taking a no for an answer because the alternative wasn't good, because the opportunities weren't there, because we struggled in a new country where things aren't as easy and at your fingertips and you have to figure things out. Perception is everything. If you perceive that there is possibility even when somebody says no, then anything is possible, right? This, how many people struggle with this? I struggle with it all the time. Fear is an illusion. My mother, although she's afraid of all kinds of things, you should hear her scream when she sees mice, but somehow, someway, when it came to life, she was not afraid of anything because she always said, ask, what's the worst thing that can happen? Right, make that phone call, ask for that job, or ask for the promotion. What's the worst thing that can happen? Fear really cripples us because we're worried about judgment, we're worried about what people are gonna say, we're worried about getting an answer that we don't like. Fear, she really taught me that fear is an illusion of your perception of the circumstance. How many people can relate to that? She also taught me that focusing on purpose can get you a lot further than focusing on the process. Focusing on the purpose of, she was determined to get those pair of shoes in Iran because she wanted to make sure she was able to take something valuable with her out of the country, something that she could remember her entire life by. and it was a pair of shoes. And it was symbolic because she walked out of the country with them, right? She focused on the purpose of what she wanted. How she was going to get there and how she was going to get it was irrelevant, which is why she tried every tactic in the book to get the shoes that she wanted. Same thing when I was 16, and her purpose was to make sure that I wasn't embarrassed at this gala and that I had a dress that was appropriate. How she got to buying that dress was irrelevant. She had no fear and she had no shame. She asked for it. Purpose over process. And when you focus on the purpose and why it is what you do, then the process of how you get there is kind of figure it out. And that's really true for my own life, right? I wanted to be a television reporter, and I kind of sounded like this because I didn't speak English very well. But I wanted to be on television. Do you know how many people said no? I have enough of the rejection letters to wallpaper my bathroom. But I was focused on the purpose of why I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I never took no for an answer. My purpose was to be in front of a camera, to be a journalist, to be a host, and all of these pictures represent how I sort of went about doing it when people said no. I found a different way. I took a job in radio. I took a job hosting on a show at the school. I produced. I hosted red carpet events and eventually ended up reporting on, that's Air Force One in the background. So eventually focusing on the purpose of why you do what you do, and I just put one foot in front of the other and eventually made it. These are more recent pictures of me working in Detroit and in Miami and finding success and not taking no for an answer. Thank you. Thank you. And I really can't take the credit because really, it was my mother. Success really depends on how many times you're willing to get up. I know that sounds cliche. I know we hear it all the time. It's all over the podcasts and all the books you read, but I'd like to offer a different context to that. Because I think it's difficult to understand this concept if you can't put it in context of your own life. And this is how I look at success, right? How many times am I willing to reinvent myself within my own field? How many times am I willing to change course? How many times am I willing to change the way my hair looks when I move from one city to the next? How many times am I willing to really take a job as a producer rather than a reporter? How many, still staying focused on the purpose, but changing the method in which I get to where I want to go. How many times are you willing to change the marketing in your business? If you do the same thing over and over again and it's not working, how many times are you willing to try something different? Right? Shifting your approach in how you see partnerships, thinking outside the box, and how you can create new partnerships, and how you can have more client acquisition and client retention. What are you going to do when you lose that client, that house, that car, that marriage? And we all can relate to that. I've lost a lot of it. And how you react to those challenges determines what happens and how far you go, right? As entrepreneurs, I know you can all relate. Failure and defeat is inevitable. It happens to all of us. But one thing I saw my mother do is I never ever saw her stay down for too long because she didn't have the luxury of actually staying down for too long. She got up and kept moving. So I'd like you to take one thing away from this conversation. Next time you're faced with a challenge, how are you going to deal with it? And I'd like to make a suggestion. I'd like you to remember that face, because that face is a face of a woman who never took no for an answer. That's a face of a woman who never took no for an answer about the shoes in the bazaar, never took no for an answer in the mall, when she wanted to buy me a dress, and not in life. She's raised 3 daughters. We're all successful professionals and healthy and happy. And my own success coming from that, by the way, that's a passport photo, coming from that and enjoying the success that I've enjoyed really is a testament to the fact that the approach works. When people said no so many times for a refugee who spoke English as a 4th language to want to be a journalist on camera, well, they said it was impossible. I invite you to take the approach of not taking no for an answer next time you're facing your challenge. For when you take that approach in life, there is no such thing as impossible. Thank you very much.
My life was very similar. We got thrown out of a country, grew up in a different country, but that perseverance, and you know, my father died early, so I just had my mom. She was a really strong woman, and that's how she raised us, and so I identified with you, and I loved the story of the shoes.
And how she negotiated and she got them to that price, but what it meant, I was surprised and almost in tears that this was something she wanted to take with her. See, I'm getting ready to cry now. Take with her to her new country.
Yeah.
And it just really moved me. And so, see, you got me crying. Anyway, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So thank you. I took away from this speech that no matter who you are, where you come from, you can always get what you want. Nothing's impossible. Don't take no for an answer. Keep trying and you'll get there.